Good morning, boys and girls, men, women, and children of all ages. Jive Sports. I was just trying to record something with a guy I met, John from the Pitch Grid podcast, but things aren't really working out that way because of some recording issues. So I'm putting out something real quick here. Wanted to run through my tournament bracket, kind of run through some things, and tell you what I think about stuff. Gonna go through this really quickly here. Duke. Also, I'm a bracket purist. I only make one bracket, and I think that's how people should do it. But you do you. Duke, Siena, nothing there. TCU, Ohio State. A lot of people thought this was a tough pick, and both are pretty good. The difference maker for me was TCU beat Florida at Florida, and also beat Iowa State, that I'm very high on. So for that reason, I took TCU slight edge. St. John's over Northern Iowa, no problem there. Kansas over California Baptist, no problem there. South Florida over Louisville. I had this before the Michael Brown injury news that came out last night. The reason why I like USF is they have their starting five all score 11 points per game or more. They shoot the lights out. I kind of like the balance in that distribution of points amongst all the players. They all play significant minutes. I like the chemistry that's built between players that play a lot together. So I gave this edge to South Florida. Michigan State over North Dakota, no problem. UCLA, UCF, UConn over Furman. Florida over Prairie View, Iowa over Clemson. I felt like these two were pretty evenly matched. Iowa snuck in there at the end. Since neither team is very impressive to me, but I gave the slight edge to Iowa for having got in late, playing defense. I think they can set the pace, slow everything down, frustrate Clemson. Vanderbilt over McNeese, Nebraska, Troy, VCU over North Carolina. Um, North Carolina, their problem this year is they're banged up. Um, they lost Caleb Wilson, um, and I just think that VCU they shoot the ball well. They're fast, and I think because of the injuries to UNC, they're not the team that we're used to seeing. So I give the edge to VCU there. Illinois over Penn, St. Mary's over Texas A&M. A lot of people have Texas A&M. Wouldn't be surprised. They're throwing a lot of money into their sports programs. But I took St. Mary's slight edge there. Let me move this over. On the western side, Arizona over Long Island. Shout out Valley Sports Pod, uh, George, Tim, and Nick. They're from Long Island. Go check them out. They've got to do some behind the scenes stuff with Long Island's football team. Got to interview some players to meet their coaches. Go Sharks. Unfortunately, you're running into the best team in the country. Utah State over Villanova. I took Utah State at a slight edge. The reason why is neither team is particularly, neither one has a good resume. Villanova went 0-8 versus top 25 teams, and Utah didn't play any teams, but I kind of like the idea that we don't know how they would look against them. But the last 3 years they've been pretty solid. They've been a bubble kind of tournament team. They're building a foundation there, so I kind of like them over Villanova. Probably not the biggest upset there, but a 9-8. Here's one that's probably going to get me in trouble. I took High Point over Wisconsin. The reason why is this is a complete high risk, high reward. Wisconsin's a phenomenal team. I'm not going to, with my Michigan fandom, talk down to Wisconsin or let my Big Ten bias, Michigan bias get in the way. Wisconsin's had a great season. They can hang with anybody. They could make the Elite Eight, Final Four. That would not surprise me. But I'm sticking, go with my gut here with High Point. They are a scoring machine. I'm not going to pretend to watch that. I'm not going to pretend to have watched this team play a lot. I've only seen highlights like most of you have, but they scored 90 points per game. But the one thing I did look up that was interesting to me, that kind of is more of this question mark, who are they really type thing, is they have a lot of foreign players. Aquino is 6'8", 230, 23 years old, from Spain. Conrad Martinez is from Spain. Babacar Diallo is 25 years old, from Senegal. So they got a lot of these foreign players coming to the United States. They're recruiting, these kind of older, experienced European players, and obviously African players. And because of the I guess the unknowns about them and their scoring offense and these kind of older players. I took High Point here as a crazy upset over a great program, but once again, high risk, high reward. Arkansas over Hawaii, nothing there. BYU over Texas, nothing there. Gonzaga, Missouri over Miami. This one for me was the toughest of the first round. I like both teams. Um, I gave Missouri the edge here just because a they have a win over Florida and Vandy. Um, and none of Miami's wins really like impressed me all that much. I guess a little quick view here just to make sure I don't sound like an idiot. So Miami, their big wins were NC State and Louisville. Both teams aren't that good. So because of the lack of quality wins there, I gave the edge to Missouri. Both teams are pretty evenly matched. Purdue over Queens, nothing there. Michigan over Howard, Georgia over St. Louis, Akron over Texas Tech. So here's another kind of 5-12 upset. Akron over Texas Tech. I chose Akron here because Texas Tech lost their best player, JT Toppin. They also rely heavily on Christian Anderson, who's also not 100%, I don't believe. And I just like these smaller schools trying to make a name for themselves and attacking a injured, a hobbled Texas Tech team that if their stars were all healthy and available would probably be a dark horse candidate to win it all. Alabama over Hofstra, Miami over Tennessee. Here's the sweetheart. They went undefeated regular season and ended up losing their conference tournament. Uh, so interesting story about them. They didn't play anybody good all year, and everyone's questioning their how good are they really because of the softness of their schedule. I like them as a we don't know much about you. Tennessee's on a down year. Um, it's still very difficult to go undefeated and have that chemistry. They're balanced. They can score from everywhere. Um, and I just picked them kind of as a flyer. Virginia over Wright State, Santa Clara over Kentucky. Santa Clara, another one of those small schools trying to make a name for themselves. Kentucky has lost 6 of their last 10. They're not as good as they're not the powerhouse program they used to be that we're familiar with. Um, and Santa Clara just has pretty good size. And if you're going to make a name for yourself against a blue blood type program, this is a chance for Santa Clara here to get a big win over a mediocre Kentucky team. Iowa State over Tennessee State. Duke in the second round here. Duke over TCU. I got St. John's over Kansas. The reason there is I'm a big East mark. I'll just say that here. Even though I'm a Big Ten guy, I'm a Michigan fan. I love Big East basketball. I love that all the schools besides UConn have these names that don't tell you about where the teams are from. They're all pretty kind of like cool. A lot of these teams are historically significant college basketball schools. They have these major rivalries. A lot of great players have come from this conference. Um, Typically smaller schools. These aren't a lot of schools that you see like make a name for themselves in football. Um, but I like the mismatch, the styles clash, and the experience mismatch here. St. John's is a little older. They play a rougher, in-your-face style of defense, and I think that's going to give Kansas problems. And obviously, Kansas is not, uh, the team that we're used to seeing under Bill Self. They didn't. They're not. That's typically a team that you is always a Elite Eight, Final Four lock. But I don't see it this year. I took South Florida over Michigan State. Once again, I leave my bias at the door. I kind of have a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Mentality. A baby-faced heel wrestling kind of thing going on. Where when I have my fan cap on, I'm going to tell you my team is the best team. We're going to crush your team, and there's no chance your team sucks. When I'm when there are stakes, when there are real stakes, money on the line, or just brag like you want to be the best. I mean, no, everybody wants to have a perfect bracket. So I would not use my anti-Michigan State bias here to cost myself if I didn't believe this. I like USF here for the simple fact that once again USF has 5 starters that all average over 11 points. Michigan State has not been all that impressive this year. They are a good team. well balanced. I just like South Florida to come out hot and shoot well and kind of put Michigan State back on their heels and kind of have them playing from behind. But once again, would not be surprising if Michigan State just blew them off the floor. But these are all gambles. You're just going with your gut here. South Florida to come out shooting, and that's just a fucking risk that I'm taking. UConn over UCLA, Florida over Iowa, Vanderbilt over Nebraska. The joke here is Nebraska is looking to get their first ever tournament win over Troy, which I think they will do. But Vanderbilt's a great program. They went to the SEC championship game against Arkansas. It was a good game. Vanderbilt solid all year, some big wins. Give me Vanderbilt over Nebraska, Illinois over VCU, Houston over St. Mary's. Give me Arizona over Utah State, Arkansas over High Point, Gonzaga over BYU, Purdue over Missouri. These are all kind of the lower seeds winning. No real upsets here. Michigan over Georgia, Alabama over Akron, Virginia over Ohio, Miami, Ohio, and Iowa State over Santa Clara. So to the Sweet 16, Duke over St. John's, um, UConn over South Florida. These are all standard. Florida over Vanderbilt, pretty standard. Houston over Illinois, once again, higher or lower seed winning, as you would expect. Arizona over Arkansas, Gonzaga over Purdue, 3-2. It's not that big of an upset. Um, Gonzaga has a guy out, Braden Huff, who's one of their key players who is going to miss the first round, maybe the second round, but should be back. He could be back this weekend, but if he comes back as expected, he adds a much needed, boost to that team. Or Michigan over Alabama, and then Iowa State over Virginia. Not a whole lot of upsets here in the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight and everything. Getting down to the Elite Eight here, I took UConn over Duke. Reason being is UConn is coached better. Dan Hurley is one of the better college coaches. He's got several championships. UConn always seems to be underrated, despite the fact that they've won several championships in recent memory. Um, Duke has been stricken by injury. Um, Caleb Foster broke his foot 2 weeks ago. He's their starting point guard. Patrick Ngangba isn't 100%. And so they're relying heavily on Cameron Boozer. I don't think he's going to be able to carry them over a more experienced, kind of balanced, better coached team. So I took UConn over Duke. Then I took Houston over Florida, rematch of the finals last year. Florida edged out Houston by 3 points. I think Houston gets their revenge. These teams are both bringing back a lot of their stars from last year. Florida is almost completely the exact same. Houston brought back some stars. I think the difference here is going to be the superstar freshman, Kingston Flemings. So you take the same teams, but you give Houston Kingston here, and I think he's the difference maker that will give Houston their ability here to get the revenge. Arizona over Gonzaga. Here's the thing that's gonna kind of hurt me, but I kind of can rationalize it like this. I love Iowa State. Um, Michigan's my number one college team. I choose them over everybody else. In basketball, my second favorite team is Iowa State. The reason being is growing up, ever since I started paying attention to college basketball and doing these brackets, Iowa State is this chaotic team that on any given night can beat the best team in the country and then lose to an unranked team. They are complete chaos all the time. And so in this situation, if Iowa State does make it this far and they beat Michigan, I look smart. But if Michigan wins, my team won. So I'm happy to lose. So give me Iowa to upset Michigan. The Purdue game kind of uh, gave me cause for concern because I thought they should have blew Purdue out, but Purdue just sliced and diced them the entire game. Final four here: UConn, Houston, Arizona, Iowa State. Give me Houston. Obviously, they went to the finals last year. Added Kingston. Give me Houston to squeak out a win over UConn. And then give me Arizona, who I think is the best team in the country. They have been all year in my mind. a lot of big wins. They started off crazy, like 21-0 or some crazy shit. I just think they're top to bottom the best team, and I have them here at the tiebreaker of 149. It's like 77-72 is kind of how I see things going. Obviously, with brackets in college basketball, everybody has their own methodology, so we all look at little things that and we weigh things differently. This is kind of how I looked at everything. This is going to be an amazing tournament. And I'm sure by 3 o'clock I probably won't feel the same way. I bet by 3 o'clock half my teams are dead. Well, the first couple games. I think last year the very first game I lost, and maybe the year before that happened too, where the very first game that started and finished I had already lost, which is demoralizing. But I usually do pretty well with these, so I'm going to post this, get this out there, get it on record before the tournament starts. And if you have any disagreements or whatever, I welcome the conversation in the comments. Please wash your hands, drink water, don't litter, and have a good day.